Hi and welcome to the Jem Hawkes YouTube channel. I hope you're having a lovely day today. For the tutorial here on YouTube today, I'd like to share a fancy earring finding. So if you wanted to make your own earring hooks, you can use whatever colour wire you fancy and have available, and I'll show you how to make these fancy little ear hooks that you can use in your jewellery designs. Let's head down to the board and take a closer look. So I've just added a couple of very simple double coil drops onto the earring finding, and this is what we're going to work on making together today. It's a little almost Fleur di Lis inspired, I suppose, little design down at the bottom with a built-in hook, and then you've got 3 loops into which you can attach drops, or you can just use the lowest one. So for this, for me, I'm going to be working with a 6-inch length of 0.8mm equivalent to 20 gauge wire. Now I'm going to make sure that the end is nice and smooth to begin with, although you may end up trimming just the tiniest bit away. So the first thing that we will do is smooth that through. If your wire is very soft, you could use a wire hardener just to give that a little bit of residual strength, but we won't be hammering it just yet. So I'm making sure that that's nice and smooth and fluid and ready to go. And we're going to start around about 4 inches of the way from the end, and I'm just going to put a gentle bend in like so. Now when I make earring findings, I want them to be as closely matched as possible, so what I tend to do is to do both pieces at the same time. It makes it a little bit tricky to see on screen, but it's basically every time I do it on the one piece of wire, I will immediately do it on the second piece. So we're going to start with the wire coming away at around about 45 degrees, and in order to get repeatable circular forms, I'm going to use my memory wire pliers. You could equally use a set of bail making pliers, or you could use your standard round nose pliers, whichever you have available or prefer. So I'm going to use the larger peg on this particular set of pliers, and I'm going to roll the wire away from me slightly to make the beginning of that shape, and then I'm going to draw that wire all the way around like so. And I'm going to have it coming away again at around about 45 degrees from that main central post, and we're going to use that after we've just strengthened it a little bit. Give that a little bit of a squish and a squeeze. Make sure that that circular form has the tail of wire crossing back over at that first angle that we made, and I'm giving that a little bit of hardness because I don't really want to be hammering this later. So the first section is made. We're now going to make the second little loop-de-loop, and I'm going to draw the wire around to make the first half of that circular form to begin with, and then I'm going to draw the wire over the top this time, bring that tail over, give it a little bit of a warm, and then just make sure that those 2 circles are just touching. You may need to just open that out slightly, and then I'm going to support the nexus point where everything crosses over whilst I just add a little bit of hardness to that first loop that we've created, and again the wire comes away at around about 45 degrees to that central core or post. We're going to make sure that we're using the same round shape again, and I tend to do that in 2 halves. So I make the first half, just make sure that it looks as similar as possible. If I pop it on the line on the board, you'll see that things are looking reasonably symmetrical. Bring that little post or whatever it is that you're using back in, and in order to make sure that this is nice and safe, the preceding pass of wire over that nexus point is coming over the top of everything. So that this doesn't come undone easily, I'm going to take the next pass of wire around and underneath the rest of the design. Now it does mean that it's ever so slightly twisted, but you can very simply just push that until it sits beautifully. But what we're doing is tying the wire in front on one pass and behind on another pass, which gives us a little bit more strength and rigidity in the finished design. So I'm now going to just take that last loop that we've just created, and I'm pressing down on it where no other wire is crossing, and it's not too close to that central nexus point either. I do want those wire hoops or loops to be quite close together, but I don't want them to be crossing over. Let's get that out of the way. So the next thing that we're going to do is to bring this shorter tail of wire all the way around just once. Now, one of the pitfalls in designing this technique is that you can pull this wire a little bit too hard and you'll make your last loop smaller. So we want to support that last loop in position whilst we draw the wire forwards and across the front of that central core wire. And we want to ensure that we don't use up any of this loop, our last little loop that we've created, in turning the tail around the core. So what I'm going to do is to support across those two loops just here. Now, because they're side by side and not one on top of the other, I can do that safely. So just make sure that you grip that carefully. Just going to push the wire up slowly and draw that all the way around. Now, the number of times you take that round is up to you. For the sake of security, I'm going to take that over a second time. Now, before I trim that away at the back, I'm just going to tighten this coil up like so, very, very gently giving that a tiny little bit of squishing. And you can see that we've made that little clover or fleur de lis shape, whichever way you want to think of it. I'm going to flip the design over to the rear side now and trim that last section of wire away into the melt pot, and then I'm going to give that a gentle squish to make sure that it sits down. Now, you are still at risk at this stage of making that final loop smaller if you're not careful, so do just take your time. Make sure that you're looking twice at anything that you're cutting, and that is the nuts and bolts of the design. Now, this works really well as a triple connector, so you could have 3 strands of chain or beading coming away from here. If you're making it as a connector, you'll definitely want to use a harder wire. But in terms of the earring finding, that's our first section done and dusted. In the next section of the video, I'm going to show you how you can form that upright post into an ear wire, but again, I would stress that when I'm making earrings or earring findings, I tend to do one small stage at a time, repeat on the second, and in that way you'll end up with 2 pieces that are very, very similar, if not absolutely identical. Let's head back down to the board and get that earring wire created. So we're going to decide how much of a distance we want between the bar coming away from that triple leaf design and the forwards bend on the earring finding itself. So what I tend to do is just have a line across a set of pliers and then push the wire gently forwards. It's a very small distance that comes forwards, and just make sure that that distance is the same on both sets of your earring finding. So I'm just going to support that bend and then run my thumb and forefinger over the remainder of my ear wire to make sure that it's nice and smooth and ready to work. I'm then going to use the number 5 step on my bail making pliers as a size of that earring wire. So I'm just going to very, very gently, I'll do most of the work and then drop it down sideways, pop that finding back onto the pliers and then draw the wire all the way down. So you've got a fairly traditional shape and size of the ear hook. You've just got this extended fancy section to the finding. Now, if you're having a very heavy earring, some people prefer to have a very long segment. Again, it's something that you'll need to do on one side and then the other piece just to make sure that they're the same size. So what I'm going to do is trim away cautiously with those flush cutters, giving myself a nice flush cut down at the end. Now, there are a number of ways that you can finish this piece off. You can simply use one of these little nail buffers just to make sure that that end section is nice and smooth and you won't be causing any dramas on a piercing. So I tend to just go all the way around the design if this is what I'm going to be using, just to give that a nice little smooth edge. Make sure that there's no nasty snags as this is going through a piercing. If you're making for a client, you will need to assess any allergies that they have to specific metals. So once you have achieved a nice sharp enough to go through a piercing but soft enough to not cause any dragging or issues, there are another couple of ways that you can do that. You can use a wet and dry sandpaper. This is quite a hard one, so I won't overly go overboard on this one. That's another way that you can do it. Or if I have it to hand, there is a burr cup design, which I probably should have taken out of the box already, but there you go. And this is designed to go on the end of wire. It rotates around and it just grinds that down to a nice entry point for piercings. So it's a burr cup that I'm using, and that just rotates a couple of times, and inside the little cup on the end it's just removing any cuts or fissures that may have been caused by your flush cutters. So you've got a couple of different ways that you can finish that off. Now, in order to take 0.8mm or 20 gauge wire and make it into a useful finding, I'm going to be hammering the front half of the flat section. So I've got my block, and you will need to obviously make sure that these two findings on your separate earrings are the same shape before you commence hammering. And I'm just going to support the end of the wire and make sure that it's nothing but a flat section on the block itself, and I'm not going to hammer past that midpoint. This is where it will sit in the earlobe, and we don't want that to become too misshapen. Now, my chasing hammer is quite large and heavy. You could probably just use a toffee hammer, but what we're doing is flattening just past that central top point. We're starting around about here, flattening and hardening the ear wire itself so that it retains its shape. Do make sure that you don't accidentally drop the wrapped section onto the block, because what will happen is that you will weaken the wire just at the joint above. So let's get that block back out the way, and if you can go for the same sort of level of firmness on your delivery of blows, you'll end up with more equal and beautiful earring findings. As a last thing I do, I just kick up the end ever so slightly. It looks attractive and it can help with insertion into an ear lobe piercing. So that's the nuts and bolts of your ear finding, your fancy ear finding. If you've never heard that expression before, a finding is simply a bit or a piece that we use in jewellery making. As a teeny tiny bonus, I'm just going to show you how to make the world's fastest earring drop charm to add into your brand new fancy earring findings. Just a scrap of wire. Let's head down to the board and have a look. So I've made my fancy earring finding pair, and now I've got a couple of random beads on the desk and a scrap of wire. This is 1mm or 18 gauge wire, and this measures around about 2.5 inches, so it's really something that I would pick out of my scrap pot. I'm going to use again my little memory wire making pliers and start off by making a circular form. You'll notice that I don't complete the circular form, there's a little bit of a gap. Give that a tiny squish, and then we're going to rotate all the way around so that we've got two passes of wire, a double coil or a double spiral if you prefer. So we've gone round once and then a second time. Then what we're going to do is to grab hold of the tail of wire and just pull that away from the double spiral so that we have this nice little double spiral down at the bottom. Let's add our random bead into position. Now, when I'm making these, they take literally seconds to create, but what I like to do is to have the spirals moving in opposite directions. So the one I've already completed is moving in a clockwise fashion, so this one is going to move in an anti-clockwise fashion before I make the first turn forwards on the tail of wire that comes out of the top of the bead. So I'm going to protect that bead with my thumb and just draw the wire forwards. Bring that just a little bit further. Now you can use your round nose pliers, or you can again utilise those pliers that are designed for memory wire making. I'm just going to use it to create a circular form up at the top. Bring that tail over. We're being quite thrifty, there's not very much wire going to waste here. Trim away up at the top. Let's get that scrap into the pot, and then make sure that that cut end meets the angle change at the top of the bead. Give that a really firm squish, so we're setting the wires in tension to stay in a nice loop shape. Lots and lots of squishage, and then we're going to open that out as if it was a jump ring, so we're opening half of that wire circular form, dropping that into the front, the lowest section on our fancy earring finding, flip it over in the other direction, and then close that finding up, that little circular form as if it was a jump ring. Give it a squish once it's back into position, and then you have got the world's quickest earring drops added onto our, I think, impressive looking for the amount of time that it takes to make them, fancy earring findings. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed making these fancy earring findings with me and that it's helpful in your day-to-day jewellery making. I'm Jem Hawkes, this is the Jem Hawkes YouTube channel. I hope to see you again very, very soon. If you like the content, please do drop a like or a comment, or maybe even add a subscription. Have yourself a beautiful day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.